All right, guys, we are back with another episode of The Journey with Brennan Thomas. I got my good friend here, Jessie T. Usher. Don't forget the T, baby.
Don't forget the T. It ain't the same.
It ain't. But I like that you threw that in there. They was like, this is style. T.
What, the T?
Wow. Okay, so this is an appreciation podcast where we take time to celebrate the journey. And a lot of times you don't really get to celebrate the journey until you get to Jimmy Kimmel, until you get to these big platforms. They ask you, how did you manage to do all this stuff? But when you're in the middle of the journey, I feel like you need just as much support to where, you feel like your dreams are going to take you. So we take some time right here in the middle. And we reflect on some of the great times that we've had and some of the great times to come. So the first question, what are the 3 greatest moments of your life?
What?
Yeah.
Career or in general?
Life.
Wow.
I know.
Whoa.
I know. It's a thing.
Man. I know one off the top of my head. I know a lot of people say like the day that their child was born.
Right.
The day my daughter was born wasn't as great as the day I walked her out of NICU. That was easily top 3, one of the greatest days of my life, greatest moments of my life.
Wow.
Because she was born with some complications and stuff like that, so they had to keep her in like intensive care. Right. So, and I was filming. I flew in the night that she was born and found out that she was in intensive care. I couldn't even see her. So like I spent my time back there. I was there for 4 days. I spent all 4 days in NICU with her. And the day I had to leave was the day I was able to walk her out of NICU. That was absolutely one of those days.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Dang, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else that lives up to that.
Like
comparatively speaking, that feeling, like, I don't know, man. I've had a lot of great days, but that was different. Oh, you know what? I know. And this is kind of like a combination of things. This is like a mashed up moment.
Give me that.
It's the moments when I get to have at least majority of like my family and friends hit a red carpet with me.
Oh yeah.
Though I've done it twice. I did it for Independence Day and I did it in New York City with Shab when I had, like the whole carpet. I could look left and right and it would just be like my family and friends.
Oh, wow.
So many people. That's a moment for sure. That's more of a moment for me than like even getting the role, doing the movie, all that kind of stuff. The moment of looking left or right and being able to celebrate with the people that I care about, those are, you know what I mean? That feels different.
Right.
So I think those 2 being one sort of the same thing. I do have another moment, the day I went skydiving.
Oh,
I went skydiving because I had that, what you talked about, where you literally leave feeling like that you could do anything in the world.
Right.
Anything. The moment my feet touched the ground after the skydiving, you couldn't tell me anything. And it didn't have to be like adventure stuff. It could be anything. You could be like, Jesse, I don't believe that you can be a brain surgeon. I'd be like, watch me do this shit right now. The false sense of confidence that gives you is dangerous. Like, you gotta be real careful. You think you can fight anybody. You know what I mean? Like, nothing matters. Nothing can hold you back at that point. You've cheated death.
Run it up.
Run it up. I didn't care. I didn't care about nothing.
Now I got to go skydiving. How old were you when you went?
This was only a few years ago. I took my sister for her 28th, 29, 27. It might have been 3 years ago.
One of them birthdays.
Nah, damn. Actually, it's longer than that because my daughter's 3 now. She wasn't born yet. So she was 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
It was like yesterday. I still remember that feeling of looking out the lids like, God damn.
That's a good memory right there. That's a good memory. If you're not sure when it happened, you just know.
You don't lose that memory.
Wow. That's what's up.
You get Alzheimer's and forget people's names. You will still remember what it feels like when you're about to jump out of a plane.
Okay, so I've known you for a great portion of your career, and it's been an honor to watch. What has
you known me for almost my entire career? Everything that's dynastic started around that time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I tell people the story all the time of I took Jesse. We went to go eat at the farmer's market. He was
Hey.
like, yeah, I just, well, I can't really talk about it right now, but you know, and then like, let me set the scene actually, because everybody was buzzing that LeBron James had a show coming out, you know, and so everybody,
Oh
like,
yeah.
did you audition? Did you audition? I was like, what? It's happening? They're like, yeah, it's happening right now. So
Crazy.
me and Jesse, we go eat, you know, we're just like chopping it up. And Jesse's like, yeah, I can't really say anything, but I think, you know, got something, you know? And I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. He's like,
Dang, I think
yeah.
you might have been the first person outside my family that I told.
That's deep.
Maybe Mike.
Yeah. But it was epic. It was survivor's remorse. And it was like, it was huge, you know what I mean? And then from there, and what happened though, the reason why we went to lunch is because I was asking you industry questions because, you know, you had been in longer than me and, you know, and again, it's just the more information that you have, the better. We were talking about, you had just switched agencies at the time. And
Sure did. I just moved from Abrams to Paradigm, I think.
Yep.
Like in the middle of that deal.
Yeah. And like, that was like the Overbrook guy went to Paradigm or something like that.
Yep. Ken Stovitz, who worked with Will at Overbrook and still works with Will to this day, and Jada and all of the whole Smith family. Yeah. He moved to Paradigm to lead their division and try to do some stuff. And I didn't have an adult agent. The agents that I was with were children agents. And they had been working like adult stuff for me, but you know, there's just a lot that they couldn't do.
Not the same.
So Kim was going to appoint a different agent to me. He chose Jim Dempsey and like this other person, but until that other person kind of got on their feet, he just worked with me himself and Jim. They kind of worked together, and then eventually we were just like, let's not change this because it's working. You know what I mean? Like,
this will
like,
do.
I understand you got a division to worry about, but you know, we booking right now, so let's it ain't broke. Let's not fix it. You know,
1000%.
Yeah,
I remember that was like an epic period, and then from there, in my opinion, you go on like a killing spree after that, you know, because
I don't know. I've been chilling. I feel like it's been slow and steady. Because if you think about it, that was what, 6 years ago?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it feels.
That was like 6-7 years ago. Right. That's a long time, man.
But how long did Survivor's Remorse run?
4 years.
A long time, man. We're not even talking about Level Up. We're not talking about.
Level Up was before that.
It was already popping. You know what I mean? And then I feel like Survivor's Remorse took it to another level. I feel like then after that, the movie started coming into play. And I'm just like,
you're right.
Oh, this boy.
Survivor's Remorse gave me the confidence I needed to book movies.
I like that.
I'll say that.
I like that.
I was very unsure about myself throughout the entire process of the casting for Survivor's Remorse because there were so many. I auditioned for that 6 times.
Wow.
Maybe 7. I mean, some of it was chemistry reasons, stuff like that, but that's still an audition.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're still, you know, proving you're the best man for the job. The problem with Survivor's Remorse that the confidence that would have been there, the reason why I left is because they continued to bring me back, and there would be an entirely new group of people that I would be reading basically against for the Cam Calloway role. So, you know, some people can look at it like, well, they like me enough to keep bringing me into these new groups, you know. But for me, I was like, they like me, but not enough to stop testing me against other people.
They're working hard to find a new me.
Man, yeah, exactly. But Ron Rico says the flip side. He was like, man, I would come in and read with other people, and they would be so bad that they would just have to bring you in and make sure that, you know, to like clean the palette out. Like that. I'm like, I understand that, but shit. For me, being on the opposite side of things, when I've been watching tapes and I see people's auditions and I have a voice and an input, like being on Survivor's Remorse and, you know, getting Shaft so early and then being able to chemistry read with people who weren't booked in the movie yet, being on the opposite side of it, it's totally different.
Right.
So that's why, you know, it makes me think about the Survivor's Remorse process, because when we saw somebody that we liked in Survivor's Remorse, after I had got booked, that person was always on set. There was never like a, you know what I'm saying? It was never, but at the same time, we had the chemistry that they had to mold with. So if the cast liked somebody, I can see why they would just jump on board and be like, let's bring them in.
Totally.
You know.
That's epic. And
yeah, man. Dang, we needed one more year so we could get you on there, dog. You might have been the only one.
What is it like to be the lead of a series? Does that come with, like, obviously I feel like it comes with a ton of responsibility, but what is like the fullness of it?
I'll take you through the stages. Like on Level Up, it was so foreign that like nothing ever seemed comfortable except playing the character that I was playing.
Right.
If they're asking me like, hey, take a look at this tape, you think this kid is funny? I would be like, is this person's life on my shoulders? You know what I mean?
Right.
They probably didn't even care, but like I learned about being more than just your character within a show on Level Up. I didn't start applying it until I got to Survivor's Remorse.
Wow.
Being on Survivor's Remorse, totally different experience. I embraced the responsibility that came with it. You know what I mean? I didn't care if somebody was going to be coming to set the next day and I didn't feel like they would be as prepared as me. I was still extremely prepared. You know what I mean? I never let any of those things bring me down. And I never, in Survivor's Remorse, I never looked at a more unlikely or, you know, less ideal scenario as a negative thing. It was more so of like a test. You know, like, can we still make this show good even though this actress that they hired has no idea what she's doing?
Right.
Or, you know, can we still bring life to this scene even though like the people who showed up don't know their lines? Like it's dying every time it gets to them. Like, can we breathe life back into this thing?
Totally.
You know what I mean? And that's more so what it came about for that. Because it was a very demanding show. Super demanding. It was very dialogue heavy and they were verbatim. So it was like, you had to know everything. You had to know the script backwards and forwards.
Wow.
If you ever wanted to have a decent performance. Unless you're just spitting out words that you've memorized, you're just reciting, and then that becomes very unnatural. And it starts to suck. Like, you have to be so prepared. Like, we were in shape. Like, going to the gym kept my brain sharp enough to be able to, like, work on that many words. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were in shape. Me and Rico every single day had pages and pages and pages to just bounce off of each other to make sure we were right. There's a scene our showrunner sent us not too long, a couple months ago. It's freaking 12 minutes. It's one scene. One scene is 12 minutes. And I literally messaged him back and I was like, why in the heck did you ever do that?
Right.
And like, he was using it as like, I can't believe you guys pulled this off. This was so great. Watch this scene. Can you believe that we actually did this? Like, I gave you all these words you did. And I was like, yeah, why the fuck would you do this? I don't even know what kind of language I can use on this.
Right.
Like you could have broken that up. We could have shot it differently. Like the transitions from one room to the scene was so long that we had to use 3 separate areas in the house to complete it so that it wouldn't die like visually.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Because people get bored of seeing the same thing. So we start in like the kitchen, we go all the way to the living room, we come back to this family room area, and some of it's on the walk and this and that, just so the scene doesn't get boring. Wow. Like, I understand that it's nice that we pulled it off and the scene is pretty good. I like it personally, but
what?
But like, what was the point? You know what I'm saying? Like, what were you trying to prove?
Totally. But see, I think that is a compliment to the actors, you know, where when you get to write in something and when you know you can trust the people that are doing it,
right?
You feel like you can write anything,
right?
You know what I mean? So it's like, yo, I'm about to spit.
That's what he would say all the time. You know, he'd be like, if this is any other show, I wouldn't dare to try this, but like, I trust you guys. Totally. And like, yeah, that feels good, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm tired, boss.
Right. I'm tired. Absolutely. No, I understand that. Look, I see it from both sides for sure. And I could imagine you to be like, now look here, man. Look here.
I'm like, man, I just finished 9 pages yesterday. You talking about a 12-page scene next week? Like, oh God, I'm done.
Like, I need my day off already.
Exactly. Weekends were never 2 days. It was always one.
Oof, that's tough.
Always one.
That, again, I think that is a compliment to the skill level, you know, that you guys illustrated over and over again to say, like,
thanks, man.
What we do. So he's like, all right, well, how about this?
We never said that, though. We was like, we can do it, but like, you know, maybe throw the lob a little closer to the rim next time. That's all I'm saying. Don't make me reach back here to get it and come, you know, I'd much rather just
That's it.
And then I can put a little razzle on it. You know, you understand. Exactly. Yeah, you can't do that from here. There's only one dunk you can do from here.
That's it.
That's it. Like,
you can't style that.
I might have wanted one of these. I could never do that, you know.
That's a perfect analogy. I completely understand that. So my thing with you and that I kind of wanted to talk about is stayability.
Stayability.
Now I don't know if that is a word, right? But I feel like working in LA, being in the industry, you see a lot of people that have a big moment, or they can maybe string together like a moment or two, and then they're still trying to sort it out, or whatever the case may be. A long career, you find out is not promised to you.
Right.
So it's like, how have you found a way to stay and to stick? Because at this point, we're looking at like 7-8 years of like being on TV, like for real.
I see what you're saying. For me, man, it's been a matter of rolling with the punches, and it starts with great humility of never getting beside myself or big-headed and feeling like I'm entitled.
Right.
Because doing a big project, doing something like Survivor's Remorse, it's easier for me to feel entitled after that. Right. Because I saw evidence of everything. You know what I mean? Like, I heard the talk of the town. Like, everybody I met told me they auditioned for Survivors. Literally, everybody.
Every man in LA.
LA that I'd met years after or whatever, it didn't matter. It was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And like, their one way of relating was like, I auditioned for Camp Calorie too. For years, like 2 years, I was dealing with that.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So like, there was evidence of that. And that would make me feel like, well, if I was good enough for that, I should be good enough for anything. But that's not necessarily the case. I was just right for that role. Right. With the dynamic of the other characters too, having Ronrico be the Reggie, having Tiana, be in the, like, having Erica, have Tashina, having Mike. There was just other people who might have been a better cam, but it just wouldn't have been a better ensemble. And, but at the same time, the thing that I've seen remove that stability from a lot of people that I know personally is that when they get that role, they feel entitled to other things. And they don't want to make the adjustments necessary to stay relevant. Because, I had an incredible group of representatives when I was at Abrams, but I outgrew them. They took me to Paradigm and gave me a team because they knew that I had outgrew them. If we had tried to force it, I would never have, my Survivor's Remorse contract would have been so bad that it wouldn't have been worth me being on the show. I'm serious.
Right.
They said it themselves. They're like, look, man, we need somebody else at this new agency to negotiate this thing for you because we don't do this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, children's contracts are totally different. Like, if this wants to be something, it's still, first season still wasn't that great because there was just a learning curve there that they hadn't experienced yet.
Right.
And I certainly hadn't experienced it yet.
Totally.
My mom, we all learned a lot. We learned a lot from Level Up to Survivor's Remorse. And those things have stayed because now the ground level is a little different. Now the foundation is laid in a much more solid way.
Totally.
But the punches have been coming, left and right, year after year. And each one has kind of always brought me back to reality and made me think of, am I being the most efficient? Am I moving in the most effective way? Like, am I meeting the right people for right now? Because the people that I met who were in top spots last year, like, everything's changed.
Right.
And everything's changed. Like, the agent that I had when I first got to CAA, who was calling all the shots for me in my television career, was like, yeah, you know what? I want to go back to casting. I'm done being an agent. Like, I didn't have a plan B. Right. It was me and him. Like, we were in the trenches. And when he left, I'm like, well, shoot. Who do I go to now to, one, find out about what's happening, and two, that I can trust and that knows me well enough to where we can continue to move forward. Like, I don't want to move side to side, and that's what will end up happening more so than moving back. You won't really digress unless you're like terrible to work with. You know what I'm saying? Then people just be like, I don't want to work with this dude no more.
Right.
But if you're not terrible to work with, the only thing that'll really push you back, like, I don't even know. It's not a lot, but it is very easy to stay idle.
Right.
It's very easy to continue to only do the same thing, or to only do one thing and then not be considered for anything else, unless you're humble and versatile.
Right.
And your team has to be the same way. You know what I mean? The agent the junior, he's not even a junior agent anymore, but when I got to CAA, Zach Kaplan was like my junior agent. I had like my made man agent who could like pick up the phone and mention my name and people would take me seriously. But I had the guy who was out the mailroom who was reading everything, finding the roles that I wanted and stuff like that.
Right.
The very first script he sent me, I booked, which was one of the very first scripts he pursued when he became an agent at the agency. And it could very easily make him say, like, I'm 100%. You know what I'm saying? Like, I threw this out and look what happened. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, but that ain't gonna happen every time. So me and him had that talk immediately. I was like, look, I don't want you to think that I'm like God's gift to your career because the first thing you sent me, I booked. Like the next 10 things we probably won't get. So like, we need to keep that same hustle that you had trying to find the right one then with the rest of this. And then I'm very happy that we had that conversation because now he's my point. Everyone I had that was ahead of him or that he had been like mentoring with and stuff, they all left. They all left. He is like my theatrical guy now. You know what I'm saying? And I've brought in people under him now. But like, if he wasn't the dude who was like, hey, Jess, you know, they favoring this now, we need to move in this direction.
Right.
Then I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Wow.
From that point on, but it's always sort of been like that. It's always been like a relay race, like passing of the baton from one thing to the next, whoever knew more than the last person, or, you know, and then same with me. Everything that I've learned over time, I've applied to the next thing to try to do better, but never considering one thing to be the same as the last. Because they're not. They're so different.
Right. And I think
so different. Every movie is different.
Wow.
TV shows, TV shows, characters are different, but the business side of it, the business is pretty much the same. It escalates, it goes up like this, but movies are very, very different.
Wow, that's dope. So we've elaborated on the past. Now we move into the present, right? So let's say your life is a book. We turn to this chapter. The title of this chapter is what?
Whoa. The title of this chapter right now is The Phoenix. And I'll tell you why.
Go for it.
Because not in the last chapter, but the chapter before that, I knew exactly where I was. I knew exactly what was happening. I had control over everything. You know what I mean? Personal life, career-wise, like I had fully control, and I was navigating it myself. And then in the last chapter, it was like everything got burnt to a crisp. So now there's like a rebirth. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
There's a rebirth. It was like when Survivor's Remorse got canceled, and I can tell you with all confidence, everybody involved in Survivor's Remorse knew that we were going to get a 5th season. Everybody. We were planning for it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I left Atlanta with renewing like my lease for me to come back already.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like we knew, like writer's room was in, like scripts were being written, cast was all in, like everything kind of came together. We talked to the producers and stuff, and they're like, oh yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking to the showrunner, trying to figure out what kind of storylines we gonna do. You know, where's this going? Where's that going? Like, let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Before we get too far in and start making promises that we don't want to keep. Let's figure it out now. Like we were at that stage.
Wow.
And then it didn't happen, and it was kind of like, hold up, wait a minute.
Right. What do you mean?
It's a chopper. Like. that went up in flames so fast. Like that took some readjusting.
Right.
You know what I mean? That took some readjusting. It was like my my life with my daughter and everything, the dynamic of it changed so fast. That took some readjusting. Like all of a sudden, the plan that I had always had in place was no longer even an option.
Wow.
You know, and not even a matter of like, all right, it needs to be amended, things need to change. Now it's like, that's out. So what else are we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like things were burnt to the ground level.
Right.
It wasn't like I had an existing movie I was getting ready to start shooting. It wasn't like we were knowing where I was gonna go TV wise. I remember I sent out a tweet. I sent out a tweet after Survivor's Remorse got canceled, and all I said was like, it was like, you know, I have to remind myself not to worry, like, because I won't be away from TV for long. Like that kind of thing. Because like the only thing that I was really getting calls about was like films here and there, you know, independent films, like a feature maybe like once a year would show some real interest. Some of them came through, some of them didn't. But television, which was my love, that was my love, was like, we don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, am I gonna go back to auditioning for guest stars on other people's shows? Am I gonna try to ring in a new league? Like what's happening?
Right.
And no one had any answers, and myself included. I didn't really know what I wanted. I didn't know if I wanted to try miniseries because I didn't want to be tied into another 4-year thing like Survivor's Remorse. I had no clue.
Wow.
But before that, I knew. You know what I'm saying? I was like, we're gonna do Survivor's Remorse, and I'm gonna try to do movies in between seasons, and you know what I'm saying? I had it all planned out.
Right.
I'm gonna buy a house over here, and like this about to happen, and that's about to happen, and then it was like,
hold on.
With everything. You know what I'm saying? With everything, it was like the relationships that I had, like with my family, like all that stuff kind of changed within the same 1.5 to 2 years. And I'm now, I would say maybe within the last year, about the last year, I've just now like kind of got a grip again. You know what I'm saying? Where like I know a lot more that I had questions with before.
Totally. Now, do you feel going through that process, although I'm sure extremely uncomfortable, has made you so much more durable for the future?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you gotta.
Yeah, I mean, you learn so much, you know.
Totally.
Every day, like those are the moments that you learn from. Like you don't learn from getting renewed.
Right.
I mean, and I would love to tell that to every person in this industry who has booked a series regular, having it being their first series regular.
Right.
Is that you learn absolutely nothing from them saying, we're going again. Nothing. Everything about that feeling is not what this is. You know what I'm saying? Like there are some careers out there, you know, some instances we can look at and say like, this person's been getting renewed for 16 years, 13 years, whatever, you know, they've retired because they've been doing the same show for so long, but we can count those people on like one hand.
Yep.
For the rest of us, it's like, just when it starts getting good, that's the rug from under you.
It's gone. Yeah, that's
gone.
That's a
it's
word.
Gone.
There.
And you don't learn anything about yourself and about that career that seems so promising until it's gone.
Right.
You know, it wasn't until we didn't get our back 9 for Level Up season 2 that I realized that can even happen, because everything had been good news up until that point. It was like, well, let's shoot this movie and hope it turns into a show. And then it got greenlit as a show immediately. And they were like, all right, we're going to try, you know, an episodic thing. We'll give you guys 13 episodes. And if it's looking good, then we'll give you a back 9. And we got the back 9 in the first season. And they was like, well, kids are still loving this first season. Before we even finished the back 9, we got renewed for season 2. So, you know what I'm saying? Like the momentum was there. Like I felt like I was in shape. I was good. And then I stepped into the ring of, you know, we're going to try a different thing. And I got, exactly. And I got caught off guard. And then we didn't get the back 9 for season 2 with expectations of getting renewed for season 3. Did never happen. Show just got canceled. You know, and then it happened again in Survivor's Remorse, but like I had still remembered. You know, like as good as it was and as happy as we all were in season 4 and as sure as we were. And we were sure we would get in the 5th season. As sure as we were, I would still tell my parents specifically, like my agents always knew, and they kind of always had hoped that they would get a chance to pull something in for me. So they, you know, they'd be like, hey, Survivor's Remorse goes is great, but if not, here's what we're looking at. They had that attitude, that mentality.
Right.
My parents were always like, it's going to go again, and, you know, it's going to be great, and why would they cancel it? And I'm like, we said the same thing before. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, even now, it's still the same. even I'm on The Boys now. We finished season 2. We've been renewed for a 3rd season. Like, I'm still waiting for them to pick up the phone and be like, hey, I know we said everybody's renewed for the 3rd season, but like, we're going to kill you halfway through. Like, I'm prepared for that stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be devastated if they told me I was going to die in the middle of something else.
Right.
You know? Be like, yeah, well, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Right. Here's the business.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It takes a lot to let me down, but you would be surprised that sense of confidence you get when you feel like you can do no wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
You've had bad days on set, but you still get renewed. So you like, they gonna take what I give them. Nah, not necessarily.
But like, unfortunately, we've taken enough from you.
It's different.
It's different. And what a wealth of knowledge you've acquired. Like, along with obviously, great accolades, but just all this information is like, so, right. You know what I mean? Like, it's so rich. And I think that, the more that you begin to share it, you'll really start to see even more.
I know what you're trying to say. Yeah.
More payoff.
That's why I like to talk about it.
Right.
I do. People ask me like a general question and I end up giving them a really deep answer because I honestly like to talk about it because it makes me realize the things that have changed me.
If you could draw it up and it would come out just how you wrote it, what are some of the things that you would like to see in the future of Jessie T. Usher Jr.'s career?
On paper.
Yes,
dang. I don't know. I used to, and still to some degree, Will Smith is my career idol.
Right.
I used to say that with all confidence, but now it's a little different because I would do things a little differently. But I've always looked at that dynamic of like Overbrook and his position in the industry and the power that comes with his name and things like that. And that's kind of always what I wanted, to be a household name in film and television, to be able to produce stories that I wanted to tell personally, or if I see something that someone else is doing, being able to say like, sign me up to be the extra push to get things going, or to even be leaned on to get things going. I'd like if somebody to say like, man, we really want to do this movie, but the only way the network is going to take it is if you do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want that position.
Heck yeah.
But you just never know. Like, I'm versatile, man. I'm humble. Like, it's not.
Yeah, I'm water with it.
Yeah, honestly, you have to be.
Right.
You have to be. Like, I'm accepting of whatever version of that comes. That's why I dabble in producing and production and stuff like that. But I'm not pressed about it. I don't expect everything that I touch to turn to gold.
Right.
There's been a few things that I've done that I've chose that I've stuck my neck out for that turned out I was like, ooh, I probably should have listened to somebody else on that one. You feel
me? But I think that's like such freedom to be able to be successful to this degree, but also be well aware that everything doesn't have to continue in this thing. You know what I mean? To have the freedom to say like, yo, this could not work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it helps me sleep at night. That's for sure.
I can imagine.
That's for sure, because when you expect something to work out and it doesn't, it's really devastating.
Yeah.
But when you're just happy either way, you can be hopeful. But when you're accepting of either way, then you don't lose sleep over it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Life is, honestly, man, and this is going to sound, this is probably going to be the most adult thing that I will ever say, but I truly believe, and it's helped me get through so many things that would have been harder if I hadn't really, but it sounds like a beat up old adult. But the truth of the matter is, life is full of disappointments. If there's one thing that you can guarantee is gonna happen, is you will be disappointed.
1,000%.
I don't care what it is. It could be the perfect movie. Something about the movie is gonna be disappointing. You could be, it doesn't matter. It honestly doesn't matter. It could be a perfect car and you turn it on, you hate the way it sounds. Something about it is going to be disappointing.
Totally.
You know what I mean? You get into the perfect relationship and something happens that's disappointing. There's no such thing as perfect.
Right.
But that's what we want to build. That's like the illustration that I continue to draw is like the perfect scenario. You know what I mean? And then when it wasn't perfect, it's harder to deal with unless you realize that it's not gonna be. So me looking at everything like that, nothing really phases me. If it does, it doesn't phase me for long.
Right. I like that. I like that. So
I take that back. A lot of stuff does phase me, but it doesn't phase me for long.
He's like, actually, I'm mad right now. But
it's in and out.
Totally.
It's in and out. I've learned to deal more so than to envelop.
I like that. I like that. Okay. Well, do you have any last message for the people?
For the people?
For the people.
For the people. Man.
People listening.
I don't know if I ever have any last words. It's kind of just, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. It is what it is, you know?
That's Aristotle?
Just do what makes you happy. That's all that really matters anyways.
I like it.
That's it.
I like it. Well, this has been another episode with the Journey with Brandon Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Usher Jr.